Hey everybody, it's Wednesday and though I am out of town, I really wanted to still honor this time, but it's not this time because it was supposed to be 12 and instead it's 1. A lot of that's due to the fact that I was at the ER at 3 o'clock in the morning with my daughter. She got an abscess in her wisdom tooth socket, and so so the morning got a little skewy. She's fine now. They fixed it. It's amazing. It's good, but I'm a little bit I'm a little behind. So today I wanted to work with something for me, with you. I'm gonna do some stamp carving, but I can't find my tool. Let me find it. Okay, we'll chalk that up to the 3 o'clock in the morning. Today I'm going to use a tool called it's a Speedball stamp carver or print carver, and I'm going to be using what's called a Moocarve carving block. At home I have the Speedball pink ones at the store, and then I might bring these in because this is a nice thick one. I don't know if you can see how thick that is. And so I'm going to use this tool. I wanted to show you this. This is a block carving tool, and the handle has the bits in it. So you can see that it comes with a variety of points to make really fine cuts or really big cuts, or to just, scrape away at it. So I'll be using some of these today. They all fit nicely in the handle. I try to remember to put them pointy bits down. So I'll fix that in a minute. The carving block that I have, it's a 3x4 and it's 1/2 inch thick. That's pretty thick for these. So I'm gonna use this today. And then the picture that I want to try and do is this one, which it looks complicated. I'm gonna make it much, much more simple. So don't worry about that. I wanted to show you how to create a stamp from a picture though, because there are some things to consider. One is that when you create a stamp and pull a print, it's the same as with like jelly printing. You're gonna get the backwards version of it. So say I wanted to actually carve the words thanks on this, I would want to carve it backwards so that when I pull it up, the word thanks is the correct direction. It's the same with a picture, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to transcribe this picture onto this block so I can carve it. So first thing you need is another tool that I did not bring over, or I did bring over. I'm going to use these sketching pencils, and these ones in particular I'm going to use because they're nice and wide, and so I've got a nice wide lead to use on them. So I'm going to use a nice soft pencil, which is PB, and I'm going to color in. Well, first I'm going to decide how much, of the block I want. So I'm just going to delineate the picture. Oops, sorry, the picture's on camera. My setup's a little different today because it's not mine. So this is the picture that I'm going to work with. And so there's my bits. And what I'm going to do is just outline this mountain. This is Mount Rainier. It's a local mountain here. I'm not worried about being exact because, it doesn't matter. It's not that important to be exact because I'm going to eyeball it a little bit. And, this is just supposed to look a little rustic. So I'm just going to fill in this gray hilly area, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to fill in these dark areas of this of the mountain. And I've done this mountain a couple ways already. I've worked with it a bunch of times in my artwork. I love this mountain. It's Mount Rainier. You can see it from almost everywhere in Seattle. And I'm going to we're just going to call all this trees. So I'm going to come along and just create the water line here. And I'm just going to do this because what I'm going to do is just fill this in with iconic tree images and not worry about whether or not they're real. And then I'm actually going to have a little bit of a frame around it, which I will carve in. Okay, that's pretty well it. So I'm going to take my block and I'm going to put it on top of that space. And I'm going to turn the whole thing over and I'm going to rub it. And so you can also do this with carbon paper. If you're old enough to know what carbon paper is, you can do it with a, you could have done it with some graphite, just rubbing graphite on the front. And then if I didn't mind that the picture was going to be backwards, I could have done it, I could have rubbed the whole back with graphite, turned it over, and then drawn on. I would have gotten a much better impression. But because I want this to be the right way, so now it's on my block, you can see it's there. It's backwards, which is what I want, because when I carve it, it's then going to come out the proper way when I print it. Ooh, ignore the red wine stain. This is my parents' kitchen table that I'm sitting at today. Okay, so how do you put this on there? Let me show you this. It's not particularly easy. You're going to unroll this, and I don't know if you can see there's a little ball in there, and I'm going to try and slot that in around the ball, and then I'm going to re-tighten this. Sometimes it takes a couple tries at it, but now I have my carving tool. Now what I'm going to do is come in here, and I'm going to carve around the marks that I made. So my first initial carve is just going to be this outline. And again, this is just for fun. It's not fine art. I'm not going to worry about it being precisely perfect. I'm going to come up and I've carved that line in there, and then I'm going to carve up the side. And I'm going to carve along. Okay, so I've got a couple choices at this point. I can decide to leave that just that line like that and then carve out the white spaces for the snow, which I think I will. I'm going to leave a little bit of a line so that we have an outline of the mountain, but then I'm going to pull these snowy bits off. And this is where I'm going to come in and pull away a portion of the actual rubber stamp to try and get that color. And I'm still just using, whoops, sorry, I'm out of the camera range. I'm still just using the small tip. And then there's a little bit here I'm going to take out. And these will print white, right? So they'll be white when I print them. And then I'm going to come along here and I'm going to cut the shoreline at the bottom. Now, I'm going to admit, I do what I always do myself, and I've chosen something super complicated. I'm not like, I'm not carving a smiley face, which would have been totally cute and doable. Instead, I'm carving a tableau, a wilderness tableau, which is so me, it's not even funny. I started knitting, the first thing I wanted to do was a sweater, right? Not a scarf, not a blanket. And then I was frustrated, and it took me years to get into it because it didn't work very well. Okay, so I have some white snow here in my picture. I'm going to dig this out. See how that works. And then I have this tree line, right? So what I'm going to do is just do a bunch of tree. And I know this isn't accurate in terms of like some of this should be reflections in the lake and all that. So we're gonna pretend. Yes, we are, as usual. I'm just gonna go in and create some spaces and hey Lois. And now I'm gonna go in and just make those look like trees. A little bit of an iconic thing going on here. Oh, get in the camera, Jared. Not worried about, you know, the spaces that I've cut in here. It's just supposed to be a little emblematic. Next time I'll just do a smiley face. She says, ha 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 ha. Of course, you know, being in Seattle, it's all about the pine trees, and right now it's gloriously beautiful. It's spring here and it's just everywhere is cherry blossoms and pear blossoms and magnolia trees bursting forth. My poor husband and my mom have both have allergies and they're a little bit miserable, but it is beautiful. And so that was that side. So now I'm going to come and do this other side. Now the beauty of this technique is that you can always test it and see how your stamp is coming out. So I will do that in a moment. We'll give it a try and see if I like it. And if I don't, I'll keep carving. Some of you know I'm taking actual art classes at Pierce, and one of them is printmaking, and so we just did what's called the reduction lino cut, which is where you take linoleum and you cut out the white parts first, and then you slowly cut more and more of you print a color and then you cut more of the plate, so you end up with this almost nothing left on it at the end. But okay, so there's the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and print a example, and what I'm going to do it in is just going to do it in this journal because it doesn't really matter where it happens. I'm going to use this Memento ink block. I'm going to ink it up just as I would a stamp, and I'm going to see how my carving is doing so far. Right. My print teacher would be mad because I got a little goober on there. Okay, so I need to do more, and so I'm going to do more. I'm going to carve more of this away and make this all snow, so I get more of an impression of the actual picture that I want. Just a reminder, the picture's like this, so you can kind of see I'm getting there, but not quite. And there should be more here. And this should come out more. Now it doesn't matter, once I've dug it away, it doesn't matter how much, you know, rubber, what the rubber looks like on these inside carved bit. Those can be messy. I'm going to carve this away. And then I'm going to just carve this to be like water. And we'll see how that looks. And if I don't like it, I'll carve it away completely. So that hopefully people get the idea that this is lake water. And that's what's the fun about this, is that you just keep going with it until you like it. If you don't like it, then you're not finished. This is a definite example of that. Now, one thing I could have done is I could have done this in a way that I ended up with something abstract, which I could use in my art journaling. That's another fun thing you do. And honestly, who doesn't have a box of like old school pink erasers or an old art eraser that's lying around, one of those white ones? Those are all carvable You can carve your own stamps out of those. You can use your sharpest knife from your kitchen block. Don't hurt yourself, obviously, but you don't need fancy tools or special equipment. Though if you did, I know a place you could buy them. All right, and now I'm going to take out a little bit here and see if this works in terms of maybe making this feel like a sky. And if it doesn't, I'll just take out more until it's blank. So my goal here is to make a little cloud. We'll see how this prints up. So I'm just pulling all this off. And you can see that you always want to carve away from yourself because these blades are fairly sharp and will bite you if you're not careful. So again, if these clouds don't work out, then I'll just carve the whole space out and make it a empty sky. But I thought this might be fun to try since I have the linoleum there, or the rubber. Let's see if I can't get something that looks like a sky. Okay, so now you can see I've carved quite a bit more away. I'm going to give it another try. I'm going to show you two different ways to ink up a block too. So there, it's nice and inked up. I'm going to put it down, pull it up. There you go. That looks a lot closer to what I was thinking of. I see one little change I want to make. This peak is a little higher than that. I'm just going to take that out and square that off a little bit the way it is in real life. Okay, so next page, let's try it again. This is a brand new ink pad, so it's really juicy and I'm getting it all over my hands. Okay. Sort of works. Let's carve that out so it doesn't look wrong. And I'm going to make this look a little more like a cloud. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to demonstrate changing this out. Hi, Lee. Oh, look at that. I'm going to get this nice round one. Let's see if I can here. Now I'm going to show you how to dissect a carving block. All you have to do is unscrew it completely. Now I want to make sure I get the round piece on the end. And now I've got a much wider, rounder tip that I can use to maybe come in and carve this cloud. I'm gonna make it a nice big fluffy cloud. Do you see how this is cutting much more deeply and much more smoothly because it's a big blade? Okay. All right, so I have shown you already how to use ink pad. This was a Memento, it's green. And now that I have a little bit of a decent print, I'm going to actually print one on a card. I got this card stock at the art store. I'll be bringing it in. They're card sets. They're like a nice deckled watercolor paper. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to ink up, let's get it so you can see it. I'm I'm gonna ink this up. I want to get a nice even coverage. I'm hoping that I don't have too much mucky stuff on my stamp. Get it through the middle. Okay, and I'm going to pull this forward and I'm going to try and get a nice even print. If I were in a print shop, I might have a machine to roll it through, and if I were improvising in the studio, I might take my Sizzix machine or my Spellbinders machine and roll it through and actually get a print right where they push the print down. But I'm not. I'm just doing this like this. So that's not bad. It's not exactly the technical achievement I was hoping for, but it gives you the idea. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to use an actual printing set process where you use a brayer and block printing ink, which is what this is. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the second one this way, and I'm going to squirt out a little bit of that printing ink into my journal, and I'm going to draw it out with my brayer. And by that I mean I'm really going to move it around and get my brayer nice and mucky with it. This is a soft brayer. It's not quite the same kind of brayer that I use with, and there's a piece of goop, so I'm going to get that off. It's not the same brayer that I use when I jelly print. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and I'm going to cover my block with it. And I'm going to go every direction, and I'm going to roll nice and even layer of ink on my block. This is black. It might mix a little with the green to create a little bit of a gray-green black, but so now I'm going to take another piece of paper and I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put it down, hopefully in the middle. I don't have the greatest advantage or the greatest vantage point here because I'm using my iPad, which is literally held up by rubber bands. And there you go. So you can see I'm getting an impression of the paper behind it as well. So, but now I have a sweet little hand-printed card. If I was going to be really impressive about it, I'd say this is 1 out of 2. And I would sign it on this end, and I would call it Highest Mountain. There we go. All right, so I hope you got inspired to do something. Like I said, you can use your erasers from home, or you can come in and pick up a block. I have several sizes, and I'll be ordering in more. You can pick up the tool, the Speedball carving tool from me as well. And I don't have the art brayers yet. I'm ordering those in now, but I do have my normal brayers. If you have a brayer that you use with jelly printing, that should work too. This is just, it's a little softer, which means that when you roll, you get a little more of coverage on your imprint, which is not the same thing when you're working with a jelly plate. A jelly plate is a different process. So I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry for the delay, and I will be back tomorrow. I'm going to show you how to make your own jelly plate from home because I don't have my jelly plate here, so I'm going to make one. All right, ladies, or people, or crafters, I should say, I will talk to you tomorrow. Stay well.